This is the end. You feel yourself afloat in the chaos. The stars have been blown out, the planets swallowed up. The screams and gunfire and false loudspeaker promises around you are little more than background noise, the music of a dying world. You stare into the changed sky, and it stares back. One vast eye between the darkened clouds. In its gaze, all that you have ever been falls away. You are a mote of dust on a grain of sand, tumbling through a cold, unknowable emptiness. The eye draws near. A mouth opens like a torn seam in the atmosphere, air becoming the warmth of its breath. Unfurling, descending, reaching down through the horizon in a ribbon of astral flesh comes the eager tongue. This is the end, but you are already gone, lost forever with the vanished stars. What will you do? This is the essential question of Junji Ito's cosmic horror manga, Hellstar Remina. And I promise, I'm not just trying to depress you by asking it. I actually just think there's some really good story potential in there. So, if you can brave it, let's peer into the void for a moment and see what we can find. A special thanks to Campfire writing software for making this video possible. And now, with Campfire Blaze, you can get your entire writing arsenal right here online. More on that later. Brace yourself. This is not a topic for the faint of heart. We've discussed plenty of horror on this show in the past, but rarely anything quite this pessimistic. The work we're about to discuss shows us what it looks like to throw your characters into one of the worst possible dilemmas they could endure, and just how fascinating that can be. Junji Ito's Hellstar Remina is about a living planet coming to consume the Earth. That's it. No solution, no hero trying to stop it, just the coming apocalypse and a world that could not possibly have been prepared. It's a simple premise, but it's hard to describe how deeply this story has affected me. I never really thought of it until I read this, but humans sure draw a lot of security from basic presumptions about their place in the universe, don't they? Each person's entire self-concept is more or less built upon these foundations, so what happens when they go away? This is a type of character revelation I would love to see explored more often, and I think this story gives us the tools to do it. I personally see two things at play here: cosmic horror and pressure. Although Hellstar Remina does have a lot to do with space, in a vague pseudoscience-y kind of way, that's not actually what makes it cosmic horror. The genre has less to do with that, and more to do with scale. Humanity against a vast, indifferent cosmos, struggling to come to terms with it all. It dares to suggest that mankind is ultimately ignorant, impotent, and most of all, in the grand scheme of things, utterly insignificant. Caveat here, these are not views that I hold. I am not that kind of robot. But this is all borne out pretty clearly in the story. First, there's that revelation of ignorance. When the Dread Planet initially emerges from a wormhole, they praise the discovery as, quote, the single most important event in the history of astrophysics. Technically, they aren't wrong about that. But the planet is a foreign body from an unknown parallel universe, has no regard for our universe's laws of physics, and consumes the stars and planets. Far from advancing their understanding, the discovery washes it all away. This is one of the central ideas of cosmic horror, that the entire body of human knowledge is so fragile, a mere glimpse at the true nature of things is enough to shatter it entirely. Then there's the revelation of impotence. The Dread Planet is unknowable, unpredictable, unstoppable. They try to launch a research mission to its surface, but the crew fall victim to a strange, grotesque fate. When the planet approaches, predictions and precedents are all proven wrong. Instead of plowing through the Earth, it halts to a stop, seeming to savor the meal. and when the planet lowers its tongue to begin the feast, the desperate government launches a volley of missiles, all of which fall apart on contact, raining hellfire down on the populace. There is no meaningful way to respond to it, no way to even truly grasp it. For all of its achievements, the human race is reduced to another simple life form at the mercy of forces it cannot comprehend. Ants beneath a cosmic boot. Finally, the idea of insignificance is embedded into the very premise of the story. Although we spend lots of time on the ground with the characters, moving through action sequences and interpersonal drama, by the story's end, it all means nothing. The Earth and its inhabitants are no more than a tasty snack for a being higher up on the food chain. Ignorance, impotence, insignificance. Pretty jarring for a single event to reveal all of these qualities at once. Leaves you feeling a bit displaced, adrift, at a loss for some of the most basic things you thought made you, you. And oddly, for whatever reason, this is an emotion some audiences seek out. Maybe a little glimpse into the abyss, a way to satisfy that morbid curiosity? It's certainly an interesting question to play with. What if you truly know nothing, can change nothing, have no intrinsic significance? What then? Grim, and like I said at the video start, not for the faint of heart, but interesting. Most of the stories I know that dip their toes into these waters are really just concerned with posing the question. They expose the audience to the idea, get them thinking about it, and leave them grasping for their own answer. It's actually quite effective, but I love Hellstar Remina for having the audacity to not only pose the question, but to make its characters answer as well. And this is where the second part of the formula comes in, the pressure. In his book's story, writing consultant Robert McKee says that true character is revealed in the choices a human makes under pressure. The greater the pressure, the deeper the revelation, the truer the choice to the character's essential nature. Pressure forces response, response shows judgment, judgment shows value, value shows character. Arguably, an apocalypse is the greatest possible pressure, so we can expect some serious character revelation here, right? Well, yes, but not in the way that you're used to. Because the question the characters are answering with their decisions is not one of moral fiber or intention or any of that. This is not where you find out who the good guys and the bad guys are, although you'll probably find that out in the process. The question they're answering is one of self-concept. The cosmos has shown you unequivocally that you do not understand it the way you thought, that you are powerless to change it, that you hold no special significance to it. Can you accept that? And if you can, what do you do with it? These are questions you could grapple with your entire life, but the characters in the story just don't have that luxury. They have until mealtime's over to come to terms with this, or not. And the really interesting thing about it is that most of the conflict and story movements in Hellstar Remina don't even come from Hellstar Remina. They come from the people, forced into this awkward situation. Remina's just having a snack. As with most things, it's the humans who complicate it. Unable to accept their apparent ignorance, some of the characters allow themselves to become convinced Remina's surface is a good place to evacuate to, because they saw a creepy humanoid silhouette in the last transmission from their vanished astronauts. Reasonable? Unable to confront the futility of their situation, mass conspiracy-fueled riots break out all over the planet, convinced that if they can murder one specific girl, the world will be saved. And unable to face their own insignificance, the mobs draw a link between that one specific girl and the Dread Planet, suggesting she's summoning or projecting it simply because they share the name Remina. They place a human at the heart of this cosmic problem. By and large, this is a story about a version of humanity that, when confronted with the question of its place in the universe, rejects that question outright. And in this story, it's so unanimous and widespread, it's really more of a character revelation for the whole of the species. But this is where the creative application comes in. This is such an interesting inner conflict to watch characters struggle with, such a variety of possible responses. Put them under a little pressure to answer, and you have yourself a rare sort of revelation. We're not just seeing true colors, we're seeing a reaction to what they find when held to a cosmic mirror. And it doesn't have to be an apocalypse either. They could be about to wake from a simulation, terrified of what the world outside will be like. They could discover that this whole time they've been lab rats in an alien experiment, and that experiment is coming to a close. It could even just be a fleeting moment of lucidity after a lifetime of comfortable delusion. Anything that challenges their personal foundations, renders them ignorant, impotent, insignificant, could work. Of course, it's all well and good to suggest something like this, but how do you actually approach it? How do you wrangle all the plot points necessary to play out this type of character revelation? Well, that's a much bigger topic, maybe for another video, but you can at least give yourself a head start by gathering the right tools for the job. And luckily, Campfire Blaze puts them all neatly in the same place for you. Campfire Blaze is a browser-based suite of tools to help you keep your writing organized. Collaborate with friends in real time or work by yourself to flesh out every facet of your story. Develop your manuscript in Blaze's word processor, create characters, design your plot, and world build without restrictions. When you're done, share your story with friends and fans easily. Expand Blaze's free version by purchasing the tools you need, then keep those tools forever. Alternatively, build your own subscription so you're only paying for the features you need. Add features for as little as 50 cents, or unlock everything for a few dollars per month. And if you're on the fence, no risk. There's a 30-day return policy. Follow the link in the description to learn more. Write better stories faster with Campfire Blaze. Before we wrap up, I'd like to give a quick thanks to all the helpful humans who support the show on Patreon. All those words you see scrolling in the background of these videos, those are actually the names of our Patreon maintenance crew, without whom this show would be impossible. And a special word to all of our top patrons, Lord Gate, RPG Grenade, Puzzling Shutterbug, and the Autumn Rider. Thank you so much. There's always a few weeks between uploads, so it might be a minute before you see us again here, but that doesn't mean the Foundry will be quiet. We actually hold a writing group every Friday over on the Foundry Twitch channel, where we read fiction submissions from the community live and give critiques. If you're craving more Foundry, there's no better way to get your fill. I hope we'll see you there. Until then, thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next time. Bye!